Alright guys, so welcome to the full stack tested channel. So in this video I'm going to talk about like what are the different methods that we have inside a web element interface, right? So basically this is the interface which contains most of the Selenium WebDriver methods, right? So let us try to go through various different methods that it has. So before going to that, let us try to understand what a web element is, right? A web element is it represents HTML element. Generally, all interesting operation to do with the interacting with a page will be performed through this interface itself. So whatever the interaction that we are going to do on the web page, so will be done through this interface. And basically, whatever the actions that will be happening, like all method calls, will do a freshness check to ensure that the element reference is still valid. Because sometimes what happens is whenever the page gets refreshed, the reference gets lost, and in that scenario, it is going to throw a null pointer exception. So in that scenario, so it checks for the freshness, and sometimes what happens is whenever the page get refreshed, so if the reference get lost, and in that scenario, it is going to throw still element reference exception. So basically, what it does is it essentially determines whether the element is still attached to the DOM. If this test fails, then a still element reference exception is thrown, and all future calls to these instances will be failing since the reference is lost. So let us go through the method summary, right? We have various methods available inside this web element interface, right? So first one we have is like clear. Clear method is basically responsible for performing like a clear or resetting the value of an element, right? Click method, as it names suggests, to it is going to perform the click operation on any element, right? And then we have find element. Find element is like finds the first web element using the given method. And then we have find elements, find all elements within the current context using the given mechanism. Then we have like a get accessible name, and get the results of accessible name and description computation for all the accessible name of the element. And then we have like a get area role, get results of computing WAI area role of the element. Then we have get attribute. It actually gets the value of the given attribute of the element, get the CSS value. So basically this is responsible for getting the CSS property of the given web element. Then we have get DOM attribute, gets the value of the given attribute of the web element. Then we have get DOM property, gets the value of the given property of the element. Get location, where on the page is the top left corner of the rendered element. Get rectangle, then we have get shadow root, get size. uh, it actually gets the width and height of the rendered web element. Then we have get tag name, get the tag name of this element. Get text, gets the visual text. Then we have is displayed method. Is a display method is basically it's a returns a boolean value, either true or false. Like it basically checks the element is displayed or not. This method reports the problem to having pass on elements style attribute. And then we have enabled is enabled method. So in a is enabled method is basically responsible for checking whether the element is enabled or not. Basically, this is mainly used for checking whether it is enabled or not. It generally returns either true or false, right? If it is enabled, then it will be returning true, and if it is disabled, then in that scenario it is going to return as false. And we have is selected. Selected is again like a boolean method. It determines whether this element is selected or not. Then we have send keys. Send keys are just to perform enter text, or sometimes so, and basically it is used to perform um, entry of an a given string into the text box, right? So use this method to simulate typing into Elementor. So simply it does the typing how a normal user would do from the computer, right? Then we have submit method. If this current element is a form or element within a form, then this will submit to the remote server, right? So these are the various methods that is provided by interface web element, right? And let us go to each of these methods one by one and try to understand what it does in detail. So first one we have is like a clear method. So clear method is the form entry element. This will reset it value. So sometimes whenever we have a text box, so at that moment of time we are going to use this clear method to perform the clear of data entry which was done earlier, to clear the complete text and then enter the new values, right? Then we have get tag name. Get tag name is Basically it returns a string value, right? It gets the tag name of this element to know the value of the attribute, right? So let's say like our element is input name is equal to foo, right? So if we apply get tag using some locator strategy, so then it will be returning as input in the output, right? Then we have get down property, then get the value of the given property of the element, which will return the current value even if this has been modified after the page has been loaded, right? So this actually returns the name of the property and the property current value of null if it is not set, right? Then we have get a DOM attribute. It actually gets the value of the given attribute of the web element. This method, unlike get attribute, returns the value of the attribute with the given name, but not the property with the same name, right? And then we have get attribute. So get attribute is another useful method, like it returns a string value, which is like get the value of the given attribute of the element, will return the current value if this has been modified after the page has been loaded. More exactly, this method will return the value of the property with the given name, right? If it exists, if it doesn't, if it does not, then the value of the attribute with the given name is returned, right? Then we have get area role. So it basically returns the computing the WAI area role of the well. Then we have get accessible name, get result of accessible name in the description computation for the accessible name of the web element. Then we have is selected. So is selected, this method basically determines whether this element is selected or not. This operation only applies to input elements such as checkboxes, options in a select and radio buttons, right? So basically like we have to check in some of the checkboxes whether that option is checked or not. So we will be using this is selected method on that particular checkbox and we will be getting the status, and based on our condition or requirement we are going to perform the select, right? Then we have is enabled element currently enabled or not. This will generally return true for everything but disabled input elements. Returns true if element is enabled, otherwise false. Then we have get text. And get text is like get the visible text of this web element, including sub elements, right? It will be getting the complete text. Then comes in the another web method, that is find elements. Find elements like we find all the web elements within the current context using given mechanism, right? So it will be finding all the list of the web elements. So you can see the return type over here is like list of web elements. So there will be multiple matching node here. Like in the previous example, we have seen like we are always getting one matching node whenever we are using whenever to find element by dot its path or ID. It is returning single web element there, but since this is find elements, it will be returning multiple web elements there. So it is stored inside a list, and the return type is list of web element. So this is also famous interview question, like what is the return type of find elements method, right? So you should always tell like list of web element. And then we have like find element. Find element is like it finds the first web element using the given method. Sometimes what happens is like whenever we are inspecting, then we are getting one of two or one of more than one matching node, right? Then if we try to use this method like find element, so what it does is like it will be picking the first value that is matching in the list, right? So you can just be sure about that. So when you pass it, then it will be always selecting the first web element. So this method is affected by the implicit weight. So we'll be learning like what implicit weight is, right? And the other type of weight, dynamic weight that we have in Selenium in the upcoming episodes. Then we have get shadow root, right? It returns a representation of element shadow root for accessing the shadow DOM of a web component. Is displayed. This method is element displayed or not. This method avoids the problem of having to pass an element style attribute. Get location, where on the page is the top left hand corner of the rendered element. So it basically returns a point containing the location of the top left hand corner of the web element. Get size, basically it gets the size in terms of like width and height of a rendered web element. And we have this method get tracked. So it returns the location and size of the rendered element. Then we have get CSS value, which is the last method in the list. It's like it gets the value of the given CSS property color values could be rendered as RGBA or RGB strings, right? This depends on like whether the browser omits the implicit opacity value or not. For example, if the background color property is set as green in the HTML source, then the returned value could be as RGBA, and this is the corresponding values. All right, in terms of like RGB. If implicit opacity is reserved RGB 0, comma 255, comma 0, then it is omitted. So that's all in the web methods, right? Web element methods. So these many methods we have, and practically we use all these methods in our day-to-day life to perform the like interaction with the web pages elements, right? So we'll be learning each of these methods in practical how to implement them in the coming videos. All right, so that's all in this video. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye bye. Take care.